to Welcome Jackie's Literary Corner. I am Jackie, and it's time for a book update for you guys. So we just got back. Well, yesterday we had just got back from visiting my grandmother for the week. Is the weekend or for the first few days? Oh yeah, we left on Tuesday, so I guess it was on the weekend. Right before the weekend, we went to visit her and spend time with her because my uncle visits her. My mom's older brother, my uncle, he visits her the most, but him and my dad were going on a little bit of a trip, so my mom decided, let's go spend time with her while they're gone. So we went down there, and I brought 4 books with me. Now, I decided not to bring the Federalist Papers with me because I feel like it would require a lot of concentration, and I want to annotate these books, and unfortunately at my grandmother's house there are a lot of distractions, whether it's the news or my mom and my grandma talking, and there's really no place that, it's one level, so there's not a lot of places where I can go and have some privacy and not hear the sounds of them talking or the TV. So I don't have anything to say about the Federalist Papers right now, and I have not done any reading yet today. I was going to read some this morning, because I think reading this in the morning is the best time, because I just got up, so I'm very up and alert, and I have a cup of coffee, so I'm awake and everything, early in the morning. I think that's a really good time for me to do some reading first thing, once you're out of bed, of course. And so I don't mean like first thing, like as soon as I get up, but once I've had my morning walk and I ate my breakfast and everything, and then all that's left is me drinking my coffee instead of just watching TV, just getting some reading done. So and it wouldn't work while I was at my grandma's. Just like I said, too many distractions. So I don't have anything to say about that. But the books I brought with me, I brought 4 books with me. So first, I read Interview with a Vampire. I had decided I just bought, you guys know I just bought this book, but I decided because it's one of Jennifer Brooks' favorite books, I wanted to read at least something for the We Love Jenny readathon, so I decided to go ahead and read this, and I had been wanting to reread it anyway, so, and I really thought forgot how beautiful her writing, Anne Rice's writing style was, and just, it's so interesting to be in Lewis's head. He's very philosophical, and he definitely appreciates life a lot more than Lestat does. He reveres it and values it, but he also enjoys being a vampire because it enhances his senses, so he can really experience and feel life, and it allows him to appreciate humanity, which it does the complete opposite for Lestat, who is a traditional vampire. He's a monster, he's a fiend. He takes pleasure in the kill and feeding off of humans and messing with them and playing with them, and they have a very toxic relationship, I gotta say, and they just cannot get away from each other. And I just read the part last night before I fell asleep. I read the Claudia part, when they've introduced Claudia, which I totally forgot how young she was, because in the adaptations, the movie and then in the TV show, which I need to get back to and try again to watch it, but I don't have access to it at the moment, is that she is cast as by a little bit older of an actress. I think Kirsten Dunst was 12, and she's actually 5 in the book, so she is little, 5 or 6. So she's really little, very young. And very eager when she becomes a vampire. And Lestat kind of uses her to keep Lewis from leaving, because he's like, I'm going to leave. He tells Lestat, I'm going to leave you. I can't be your partner anymore. I need to leave and find other vampires, and I will find them. So Lestat decides to bring Claudia along, because the women he brought to feed off of that did not work. So he brings in Claudia, the first human he's fed off of. That Lewis has fed off of, I should say. But yeah, now I do feel like Lewis is not for everybody, probably. I think there are a lot of people who prefer Lestat, but I do enjoy I am fascinated by being in Lewis's head, how philosophical he is, and like I said, he appreciates life. So, I read that one, and then I also brought with me and read a couple chapters of Confederacy of Dunces. Now, I picked this book. I decided to get this book because it is Rory Gilmore's reading list, the books that she's read, and so I decided to try it out, and I'm liking it so far. Although I do feel like how people feel about this book will be because of how they feel about the main character, Ignatius, who is obnoxious, arrogant, and a slob. He is a pig. He's a horrible excuse for a human being, and I feel like being inside the head of this horrible, unlikable character, not everybody's gonna want to do that. Because you just want to punch him in the face. But I think the author O'Toole meant it to be like he is not, to me, he's not encouraging this behavior and saying this behavior is okay. I think he's mocking it and parrying it and saying that this, and it's a criticism of someone like him, because Ignatius comes off as he is very intelligent. He is well read and has an education. Like, he's not ignorant. But he uses his intelligence to make him think he's better than everybody else. And he's not. He's worse than everybody else. But yeah, and I feel so bad for his mom. He lives with his mom. And she is so sweet and kind. I mean, maybe a little overbearing, but and she's just desperately in need of someone to help him, and just wants him to be able to take care of himself. And so, like I said, if you don't want to be in the head of someone who's horrible and obnoxious and just gross and just annoying, then maybe this isn't the book for you. But I don't know. I mean, it's like, it is a satire. It's meant to be comedic. So there's that. And then the two big books that I read were, first, the one I read the most of while we were gone was The Museum of Abandoned Secrets. And this one it takes place in Ukraine. And it's our main character, Darnia, is a news journalist, and she's been obsessed with this one particular woman, this Elena Dalvegan, and she gets to interview her because the woman, I believe, is still alive. You also have her talking about her relationship with her father, where her father ends up being a disappointment to her. He doesn't live up to her expectations. Like, there's one scene where she had made this, I think it was a picture of a rabbit, and while she's gone, her dad decides to fix it, but then he ends up messing it up, and he was just innocently tells her, "Oh, I'm sorry, it was my fault. I was trying to fix it." And she's kind of mad at him for that. So he comes off as, you get the impression that she feels he is very childish, and hasn't really grown up. And she and her best friend, there was another section where she talks about her best friend who just died, and when they had married men that had not grown up yet, and their frustrations with that, and how eventually her friend ends up leaving her husband and decides to live a more adventurous life. And Darnia, is kind of jealous of her friend and wishes she could do that, but she hadn't at the time. And then she eventually does at some point, and is married to this, I think, unless this guy that she's married, her current boyfriend is, but no, husband. So she's with a new guy, and he's talking about these dreams he's been having. But yeah, it's really hard to talk about this because so much is going on, and then it can be very confusing to read at times. Especially because I use stream of consciousness writing style. But I definitely getting into more and following along more than I did with when I attempted to read Duxbury Newport. and even with Ulysses, which I am going to try that again. One of my subscribers, I apologize, I don't remember your channel name at the moment, but I remember she was telling me that they were telling me about like ways to read Ulysses, and they recommended one of the characters' soliloquies towards the end of the book to read that first. And also she agreed that you need to read that book in complete silence, like no distractions. And that's my problem. I brought it with me on a trip to my grandmother's, and I was in the car, so there was talk radio and on in the car, and just like, and the sitting in the back was not fun. And then there's a lot, and like I said, it's hard for me to read at my grandma's house because there's so many distractions even there, even though we don't do a lot. So yeah, I did not. So I definitely need to read that at home, maybe first thing in the morning, like I am doing with the Federalist Papers. But yeah, so I really like this cover. First, I like the pink, and then I like this like image of things buried, which I think they talk about that in the book. I think I remember a part where they talked about all these treasures that were buried, that they buried from, that they hid from other people. So there's that. And then the last book that I focused a lot of time on was, I read Words of Dragons, book 2, the sequel to Way of Kings, which Way of Kings I definitely struggled talking about with you guys and reviewing that book. And I think that's partly because I spaced out my reading, because I would put it down. This is a long book. These aren't long books. And I just spaced out when reading these books. And oh my god, that's who that. I was trying to figure out who this is. And I think this is the Parshendi assassin. Or just a Parshendi in general, I think. And then this is, and I think this is Kaladin. But it's hard to really talk, but plus it's also hard to talk about this book because it's a sequel, and I don't know what you guys know. Have you guys read the first book and what you know about the first book? But our characters are very interesting places right now. Their circumstances have changed a lot. And right now I think Kaladin and Bridgefor are in a bit of a more privileged situation right now, thankfully, and which is not necessarily bad, but Kaladin does not trust, has some trust issues and uncertainty. And then you have Shallan in her situation, and I actually really like the conversations and scenes between her and Yasna, and all the conversations she has with her. Now she's talking about, trying to get her trying to teach her and get her to listen and learn about Shadmar. I don't know if I'm saying that right. And understand, and really getting, like, talking through it. Like, there are times when Shallan just wishes, she gets impatient and wishes that Yasna would tell her, but no, Yasna doesn't just tell her. She actually asks her, what do you think, or what's your opinion, what are your thoughts, why do you think the way you do? She challenges her and forces her to think about things and trying to understand, which I like. I really like those scenes. And then there's one moment where Yasna is trying to sketch a picture of an animal in the water, and basically says, put me in the water so I can look at it, because it's under the water, so she can only see a part of it. And at first, the person's like, no, I'm not gonna do that. What if you get eaten or drowned or something? And she's, and after talking with Yasna, telling you need to, assert yourself, and you can still have the same reactions I do from people and have people respect you, depending on how you carry yourself, and show that you're not gonna, take crap from anybody and not gonna let people walk all over you. Or so she again asks them, it's like, no, you're going to let me take a picture, let me go in the water and see this image so I can sketch out what this animal looks like. And I really like this one, because I'm like, on the one hand I'm like, you go girl, but on the other hand I'm like, oh my god, this is dangerous. What if something happens to her? Like, because yeah, they're not wrong when they say she could get eaten by some kind of fish or something. Once she drowns, what if they are unable to catch her? Like, something happens when they're trying to lower her in. But anyway, but yeah, so I'm running up to chapter 6, so still not a lot compared to how long the book is, but still a decent chunk. Okay, so now let's show you what books I'm ending the month on that as in books I've hauled. So I got 2 books to show you guys. I'm probably not going to do any more shopping before the end of the month because I'm very close to my budget and I'm trying not to go over it. I mean, although, yeah, I could, I decide to, if I go over it, to, as a consequence, I lower the budget. So I learn how to, how to budget myself, how to exercise self-control. And now it just gives me anxiety because I keep worrying that, oh, I'm going to go over budget, so I can't go book shopping at all. Like, and that does not always go well. So the first one was actually something I got off Amazon. I know a lot of people take issue with Amazon, but my mom uses it, so. And this book was discounted. It's on my list. And my mom got it. It's her account, so she gets notified. And, so this one, and she was like, well, do you want me to get it? And I figured, may as well get it now while it's discounted. And that is The Lost Metal. This is the last book in the Wax and Wayne series, which I have not started yet. And I know people have mixed feelings about that one. People still prefer the original Mistborn books, but the original trilogy, because like I think there is one of the characters is incredibly annoying, and a lot of people don't like them, and then also some people don't like the Western inspired setting. I don't know how I'm gonna feel because, like I said, I have not started it yet, but I want to start it soon. I did sort of attempt to start it, but I kind of put it down because I got distracted by other books. So, but this book is going to be very different because I have the UK covers. So those books are white with a blue painting-like image on there. I don't know what the size of them are compared to this one. I did notice these ones are incredibly tall compared to other versions I've had, other books. I mean, it is interesting how, like, even when they're all, like, trade paperbacks, they're still, some of them are still different sizes. But anyway, this is the last one, so I can't really look at this book too much because I haven't read the first book and it will spoil things. But, yeah, so this is the last book in that one. And then the book I bought today, so Mom offered to take me, when we got back from my grandma's, she offered to take me to either Books A Million or the Country Bookshop, so I decided for the Country Bookshop because I have not been in a while. That's an independent bookstore in the next town over. And I went ahead and I decided I want to go there because when the library is close to that one, the library in that town is close by there, and I wanted to go to at the time I was thinking, oh, instead of just sitting there hanging in the library, because I don't have a library card for that library, and I have to drive to it. So it's like getting a library card is like, there's no point because, if I start getting library books from there, then I will be prioritizing those books and my own books won't get read. And it's so far away. It's not like walking distance like the one here, which they're going to add, make it bigger anyway than the one that's within walking distance of me. They're like working on it now as we speak. They just have not settled on a size because of money reasons. Either way, I'm hoping it's a little bit bigger. So anyway, so I was thinking, oh, maybe we can, well, since we're here, maybe we can go to the bookstore because it doesn't close until 11, and my dad's meeting was like at 4, I think. He joined a writers group. So I figured, well, maybe I can go there, but then it's kind of with a little bit far, it's quite a ways down, so, and then I looked it up and it's closed on Sundays, so, which I get it. Sunday, it's in a lot of small communities. Sunday is a very sacred day, and they don't want to have stores open. Not all stores are going to be open. And sometimes, people in a business need to have a day off. But, so I had been wanting to go since that day. And then, the trip, going to my grandma's came up and everything. So my mom told me, well, we can go to whatever bookstore you want to when we get back from grandma's. So I opted for the country bookstore. And, I ended up getting a non-fantasy book, but it is a book that I had my eye on and I was thinking about getting. And that is The Books of Jacob. And this is, I think he's, let me just go ahead and read back. I did read the back when I first, to refresh my memory of the plot, and if I still was interested in it. But I'm going to read it again because I don't remember enough to tell you. In the mid-18th century, as a new unrest begins to sweep Europe, a young Jew of mysterious origins arrives in a village in Poland, visited by what seems to be an ecstatic experiences. Jacob Frank cast a charismatic spell in the decade to come. He and his increasingly fervent followers will crisscross the Habsburg and Ottoman empires as he reinvents himself again and again, converts to Islam and then Catholicism, is pillared as a heretic one moment, hailed as the Messiah the next. The story of Frank, a real historical figure around whom mystery and controversy swirl to this day, is an ideal canvas for Olga Tokarczuk, his genius. I apologize, I don't know how to say her last name. Genius and unparalleled reach. The Books of Jacob capture the world on the cusp of precipice. Sorry, I can't say it. I know that word, but I can't figure out how to say it. With change, searching for certainty and longing for transcendence. And last year I read The Weight of Ink, so that was partially inspired. In a small way, I did have that book in the back of my mind when I was debating if I was going to get this book or not. This is a Nobel Prize winner, and that was kind of when I first heard about, not me paying attention to the Nobel Prize, but because there are a lot of people I watch on BookTube who follow book prizes. And someone mentioned, and there were people that talked about this one when it was nominated for, I don't know if it was a Nobel Prize or a different prize, but there's a lot of people that want, a lot of people that I follow that, like I said, follow up as like Greg from Supposedly Fun, Katie from Books and Things. A lot of people have been discussing following and discussing the Hugo Awards and the Nebula Awards, which I'm wondering if they were the same thing, because I know someone also talked about book controversies that happened in this past year, and they mentioned that one. But I don't know if maybe they got it mixed up and they meant the Hugo Awards, or if Hugo Awards and Nebula Awards are the same thing. I don't know. If any of you guys follow any of those awards, maybe you can tell me if Hugo and Nebula are the same. But, so that's where, I think it was the International Booker Prize was the other one that she was nominated for. And this was translated work. The translator, I think, was Jennifer. So I think this was, it was translated. So, which I wonder then what country. I guess Polish. I think it's Polish. Maybe that's what it was translated from, because the character goes to Poland. It's the first place. I don't know, but so it is a translated book. But it just caught my attention, the plot. Like I said, I would love to learn more about the Jewish culture and their religion, and I want to read more books like this. I want to try it because I want to get into these more, because I feel like they have a lot to offer. And even though I don't always love the term literary, because saying that, The Way of Kings is not literature, or Stephen King's work is not literature, because it's not all, it doesn't have literary merit. Like, they explore a lot of important things, good versus evil, and humanity and who we are, and and bonds of friendship and bonds of love. Love isn't, romantic love is not like sappy sentimental, isn't always sappy sentimental fluff stuff that's only that, it's also very important because it's something that everybody can relate to. So, like, in the grand scheme of things, maybe world events is more important than romance, but it's still of value. And I just feel like people just dismiss genre fiction because it's, as being not literary, which to me is not true. But at the same time, the words like literature and classic, calling certain books classics, just kind of get stuck and ingrained in my vocabulary. That just, it's very hard to not use those terms to describe certain books. And they just sound better sometimes. Like literature, and I'm sorry, but yeah, sometimes they just sound fancy and sound better than just saying, like, but anyway, but yeah, I'm gonna try it. Like, and let me see, is this, let me look, is this, I'm gonna check something because I wonder if I could use it for, dang it. Okay. Like I said, I'm curious what happens when that happens, when the screen disappears. Okay, I'm very confused about how this book is numbered. But I'm wondering if I can use it for March of the Mammoths, because it's a pretty big book. Like, so yeah, I'm very confused with how this book is, the writing of this book. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to update it. It's going to be very hard to update this book, because with how it's numbered and everything is very confusing. I'll have to look it up on Goodreads and see, because like this is just like I said, the numbers are just so how it's numbered is just very like, unless it's like kind of like, maybe it's kind of like the Bible where you have different, although that's still numbered, like, it's just, it's very, I'll have to check that. It'll be when if I start reading this, I'm not gonna be able to update it by number. It's gonna be kind of hard to update it because it's just the way it's numbered is really confusing. I mean, I guess I could just count the numbers as I go along, but number of pages I read as I go along, but I would have to constantly remember to do that. So, I don't know, but it's just, anyway. So that's how my reading is going. I did buy some books for some people today. I bought some books for my nephews and niece, which they don't watch my channel. Plus, it's not meant for kids because sometimes I say bad words on here. So they will never see this. I can talk about this on here. That I bought them some books for their Easter baskets, and also like for Christmas and stuff like that. And it's just so much fun to shop for them. It gets so exciting. But I also need, some guidance from my mom or my sister, because I don't know what books that they have, and what the oldest Harrison is capable of reading. Like, what can he read on his own? Is he gonna need to have his parents read this to him? It's very hard to determine what books I can get them. But it's still so much fun though. I love shopping for them. It's so exciting. And it's also my way to figure out, like, it's a good way to figure out what they will be interested in the future. And I know my sister has expressed interest in them reading the classics, like my mom was just saying that she has. Although it's kind of hard because you gotta get the classics that are for young readers. You have to get those types of classics because there are a lot of editions. And then there are books that are meant for kids. There are classics that are kid friendly. Like Little Women, The Hobbit. Originally that was for kids. Don't go by the movie adaptation. And like there's books like Old Yeller and Where the Red Fern Grows, although that's more middle school, I think. And there's Shiloh, which I saw that there at the bookshop, and I was so excited because I always loved that book, and I've always loved that name for a beagle. We never named our beagles. Were always like we had Chloe, we had Rascal, and we had Sophie. We never used the name Shiloh, but I do like that name. Anyway, so I guess that's all. That's all I gotta say. I'd love to know what you are currently reading, and I hope you are enjoying your day, and enjoying whatever you're reading. And are you participating in any readathons coming up? In any of the readathons coming up in March? I know there's March of the Mammoths, Milgrave March, the Ides of March. That's a Rome and Caesar readathon. I'm trying to think. There are other ones I've heard that happen in March. Like I said, Milgrave March. And I'm thinking about participating in March of the Mammoths. And then I think after that it will be, Jason Austin July will be the next readathon coming up. I don't know if there's anything going on in April, but I feel like I can't be too active in readathons because there's certain books that I feel like I need to read, I need to get to, and I can't always, they don't always fit in whatever readathon is going on. And plus there's pressure, even though they're not doing it on purpose, but it does feel like there's a little bit of I like end up putting pressure on myself, and then I end up not getting to those books and changing my mind. But anyway, so if you guys like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up if you did. No pressure. And click subscribe if you're interested in reading more. Click subscribe if you are interested in looking at more of my videos. And I hope you are all doing well, and I will talk to you all later. All right, bye!